Well, my name is Dr. Wayne Sedlak, and this is Vision Viewpoint. With me is Don Pridemore, who is a candidate for the 13th State Senate seat here in Wisconsin. Don, welcome to the show.
Glad to be here.
And it's an honor for me as well. Good to have a man of your caliber running for the State Senate seat. Don, first of all, your area, the location. Where is the state, the 13th district?
Well, it starts out in Hartford on the east side of the district, goes through Watertown, ends up in Beaver Dam, and actually includes 4 municipalities in Dane County. There's about 170,000 people in the district altogether, and it also dips down into Waukesha County with Oconomowoc. Contains all of Dodge County and most of Jefferson County, but goes all the way up to Brownsville and Elmira and locations like that.
Yep.
So
A lot of farmers, a lot of hardworking people out there.
that's correct.
About what, 170,000, 75,000?
Mm-hmm.
175,000 people. Overall, I know what you stand for, but I want you to explain that to people. You're a constitutionalist.
Correct.
But not only do you give a very real, sincere lip service to the Constitution of the United States, state of Wisconsin, you defended it in battle.
That's correct.
That is your background. You're a veteran.
Mm-hmm.
So what you speak to in defending, upholding, maintaining the Constitution, you've already taken by oath and put your very life on the line in the past.
That is correct.
So the Constitution means a lot to you.
It does.
The Second Amendment means a lot to you.
It does.
And constitutional process here in Wisconsin means a lot to you.
Mm-hmm.
You've served in our legislature before. You have the experience.
Yes.
You were there, 2003, 2004?
Correct. That's when I started.
And you were there for 10 years.
Yes.
We should say that you ran against our current governor, the DPI position, 2013. Had you gotten some Republicans who weren't so complacent, you earned 40% of the vote. All they need to do is come up with another 10%. You could have beaten Tony Evers.
That's right.
And then his step up the ladder would have been disrupted. We probably would not have had him as governor.
That's right.
So we're back to a complacent GOP.
Mm-hmm.
So that was 2013. You're running for the state Senate position. You're a constitutionalist.
Yes.
You defend both the Constitution of the state of Wisconsin and the federal. There are 4 major issues that you brought to the forefront. Agriculture, having a voice for the farmers is one.
Mm-hmm.
Education, we've talked about that in a separate program. Very important to you. You sit on the school board, in fact.
Mm-hmm.
You are for alternative educational opportunities as well,
Yes.
including homeschoolers.
Mm-hmm.
You have, you certainly have brought the issue of voting fraud to the forefront.
Mm-hmm.
So now, another one that you brought to the forefront, and again, I'm not hearing the echo of your opponents. I'm not hearing these things from them. This one, healthcare. So what do you bring to the table?
Well, I'm not a doctor. I don't profess to be.
Well, most people in the legislature aren't either. So
Well, we did have one a few years ago, but he didn't last too long. But he was very in tune with anything to do with healthcare. He was the one to go to. But he only lasted, I think, 4 years, and finally gave up because he could probably make more money on the outside than the meager $50,000 a year they pay legislators.
Yep.
So you really have to sacrifice if you want to be in the legislature when you know you can make a lot more money in the private sector.
Right. So tell me about healthcare in general. What do you see? What must change?
Well, obviously this COVID thing is still lingering on. It's certainly built up in the press. I think a lot of what's discussed in the press is really there to make people fearful of it.
Right.
When in fact, in years down the road, it's going to be treated probably just like the flu is today. You get a shot and you're good to go. But right now, I think they almost politicized this COVID. I call it the Chinese virus.
Yeah.
They politicized this, and I think there's still some investigation going on right now as to exactly how this got out of China. Was it
Right.
intentional?
Right.
or was it
Right.
part of a master plan to subdue America to the whims of the globalists?
Right.
And I don't know if we'll ever hear, the end of that story. Very few stories like this get out in public, but who knows?
Well, one of the most prestigious foundations in the world, the Rockefeller Foundation, wrote its report in May of 2010 stating this very thing. When the pandemic comes out of China, isn't that interesting? So the very thing you just said, from the foundation of what is called the deep state,
Right.
announcing back they expected Obama to be able to do something about it. He got some resistance. So he laid some groundwork. But the point here in Wisconsin, is a governor who's out of control.
Right.
At least that's the way I see it.
Mhm.
I know you agree. Explain. What should be done?
Well, he's been issuing these executive orders. He got slapped on one of them, but now this mask mandate. Even the CDC admits that 85% of the people who get COVID are wearing masks.
And can I ask, I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Mhm.
When it comes to the dissemination of these viruses, when was it that going from a hazmat suit to a bandana suddenly worked? How does that go? Because I know in the military, they wouldn't go with these simple masks or anything like that.
Yes.
And the CDC wasn't an advocate of this even a year ago, or just over a year ago. And Fauci himself. Now suddenly they're all, well, you said it, politicized. Came out of Ted Johnson, the United Nations.
Yes, and not only that, but it's the size of the virus is so small, and when you look at this microscopically, it's like putting up a chain link fence to keep out mosquitoes.
Right,
It just doesn't work.
right.
And if 85% of the people who wear masks still get the virus, then what good is it doing you? The only logical explanation I can think is maybe if you sneeze in it, it might help a little bit. But there's so many points of exit and entry into these masks that
Right.
it's just that they're worthless.
Well, you can't get the point across in the media. It's not allowed. Again, we're back to freedom and competition. Because the best way to test a thing is allow competition among scholars, among experts, among researchers. Then they'll find, they'll say, look, I'm presenting this paper. Oh, I'll present this paper. They can examine, but that's not allowed. In a politicized process, it all becomes, shall we say, under one common head. And that's the focus. And that's the way our governor has treated. And now we see the division. We see the loss of, certainly the loss of freedom. I believe his violation of his oath of office. He's broken his oath of office. He's supposed to uphold the Constitution. He's done anything but.
Right. I look at what he's doing now as a form of tyranny.
I do too.
And he's supposed to, after 60 days, he's supposed to go through the legislature to extend these masking mandates. And instead, he just keeps extending them. And I think this is the fourth or fifth time now that he's done this. And the legislature seems to allow him to get away with it.
And the GOP just allows him to do it.
Yes.
They're complacent again.
Yes. I'm very disappointed. Steve Noss in the Senate introduced an SJR 3
Right?
that would have put an end
Right.
to this. And it passed in the Senate, but then it stalled in the Assembly.
It was stalled by Republican leadership.
Yes, Republican leadership.
So, and it's what? Delayed indefinitely?
Well, the excuse now is that there might be some financial sacrifice that we have to make.
They
in
put
order-
food stamps, the governor put food stamps in it to begin with. And if it gets removed, he's going to blame it on his opposition, right?
Yeah,
So he put it in. He could have done his due diligence for what, 6-7 months?
or at least.
Take care of it.
Sure.
But he wants it to be, if it's rescinded, he wants to throw that at his opposition. That's politics.
Yeah, it's been politicized from one end of the spectrum to the other. And very disappointed in that, but leadership says they're going to take it up, but not until they get this financial thing worked out.
Which could be forever.
It could be. And
So the oath of office, I know you believe in upholding the oath. You defended it as in the Air Force,
Air Force, yes.
and you fought for our country in the Air Force. So your oath of office meant something to you. Put your very life in the line.
Right.
Oath of office in a constitutional republic is something not to be violated. It's supposed to mean something.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, we have a balance of power. A governor is supposed to consult, like you just said, consult others. In fact, not just consult, he has to work with the other departments,
Mm-hmm.
the other branches of government, legislature. If we let complacency reign, tyranny, or at least the steps to tyranny, will begin to march ahead, take over.
Right.
Saw that in election fraud. Complacency. Nobody did anything about the multiple infractions.
Mm-hmm.
No official action was really taken. Some hearings, some affidavits, but nothing.
Right.
The same is true here.
Yes. And the other thing about this very fast research and everything that went into all the vaccines, they really haven't fully tested it yet.
That's right.
And look at the example of Hank Aaron, who took the shot, and then a week later he was dead.
He was dead. The
Now-
second COVID shot.
Yes.
That's right. That's right.
Now, they seem to saying, well, this is just a coincidence. Well, if you believe that, fine, but I don't believe it.
You know, I can speak to that. Weekly, I spend a lot of time teaching, obviously, I view the communication system as a professor. I teach indigenous peoples in Africa. If I wasn't living here and didn't love this country, when we're living here with my family, I'd be living in Africa. I love my brethren in the tribal area. I'm not talking about, I'm talking about tribal peoples. I teach them. And when I hear of that which our press will not testify to, won't allow, I hear of women being infertile. That's devastating in Africa. I hear of people dying. The economy being ruined by masks and distancing. I mean, their economy is in shambles in many countries in Northeast Africa. The point is that we've paid a price for something we're not even sure of. Like you just said, there's not been the research. In Germany, thousands of doctors have testified in protest. They don't get a hearing. You can't even get up on Google. It's up and it's gone. It's banned.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't have competition, you can't maintain freedom. A competitive voice means that I'm checking you, okay? I say this. What's your answer? You say that to me. What's my answer? Freedom then encourages examination, public examination. That's not what we have here in this issue.
No. And unfortunately, it's creeping into everything. Political correctness.
Right.
All this world government. I know Trump would have won this election had we been able to get a handle on voter fraud.
Right.
Biden even said himself that he had the greatest fraud organization built in this country
That's
that ever
right.
existed.
Right.
And nobody believed him, apparently, or nobody took action.
Again,
And-
complacency.
Yes. Yes.
So we have this whole area under the heading of healthcare, and I've seen a lot of people. The distancing, people are frightened. The biggest thing that I see is the damage to the economy and how people are just living in fear.
Right.
They've been herded by fear. They're terrorized. Now they're terrorized.
They're being programmed
That's right.
to follow government orders.
Right.
And these government orders are not elected officials, they're bureaucrats. So do you want to trust somebody who's not accountable to the voters of this country?
And they're not even doctors. Back to the point.
No.
So now people are going to be facing the vaccines. They've not been tested. I see it as I teach people in Africa.
Mm-hmm.
It's a disaster under the auspices of the United Nations. That's a whole subject in itself. But we're going to experiment on, what did Biden say? Once 100 million vaccinated, we're going to be experimenting on people. Same is true here in Wisconsin. Underneath Governor Tony Evers' mandates.
Right.
And the government, our Republicans, have delayed the necessary vote that might stop him.
Personally, I'm not going to be a guinea pig. And
Right. Right.
if half the population of Wisconsin gets the shot, and they
We're
live
not
through it fine-
anti-vaxxers,
No.
but I do believe in freedom, and I don't believe in forced vaccination.
Right.
But this comes back to another point. For 47 years, I've never believed that the government really cared about the privacy of my body. And we all know how that was promoted and why. I've never believed that rhetoric. Now they're proving it. When it's politically advantageous to stick their needles by mandate, that's what they're going for. So what happened to the privacy of the body? Well, we could go on forever with that one. I mean, you are pro-life. You know what the arguments have been.
Right.
You're decidedly pro-life. So we have, again, the encroachments of not just regulators, but a tyrant. And I believe Tony Evers is that. I've criticized him publicly for that. I believe he is. So I believe the Republicans are, well, they're complacent. That's the best case you can make in the assembly. So we're going to need good individuals, people that are going to stand up. And so, folks, in February 16th, you have the opportunity to do something about it. Don Pridemore is running in the primary, the GOP, on the 16th of this month. Then you're going to go up against
The
the Democrat in April 6th. So, folks, it's time to stop complaining, and it's time to do something about it. When you have the authority to do something about it. So let's go for that as far as this primary on the 16th. Don, I certainly wish you well, and I'm certainly praying for you. God bless you. We need more men like you, and you certainly have the experience for it in 10 years of the legislature.
Yes.
So, folks, you'd be voting for a man of experience. So do it on the 16th. God bless you. Thank you.